And so at this time in each one of the previous calls, I have always done a review for you of the previous modules. And I emphasized to you before, it was because I wanted you, for one thing, to see how connected each one of the lessons are, and that they represent steps or stages in your growth process, and that each one of the lessons becomes a stage that you need to work your way through in order to move on to the next lesson. And so it's a sequential process that you go through in your growth. And by linking them together in that way and presenting them to you in that way, I wanted to emphasize that for you, that spiritual growth, it's evolutionary. It's a process of development, just like we develop through childhood and go through different stages in our process of growth. Our spiritual growth likewise goes through various stages and levels. And so each one of these 7 lessons represents a somewhat different level that we need to master before we can move on to the next level. And that's one reason I have presented that review of the lessons to you each week, so that you could see it in that sequential fashion. And today, however, I'm going to do something slightly different. Now that we've covered all 7 of the lessons, we've gone through all of them, so you are familiar with each one of them and you know what they consist of. I'm going to review them all, but this time I will review them in reverse order. And there's a reason for that, because this entire process of growth in these lessons, it's like a circular process, and there's this recycling process of going back through the lessons. So I want to show you how learning about even the highest level lessons, lesson 6 and lesson 7, can help you with the earlier lessons. And so I'm going to review them all in this reverse order for you. So last week we covered impermanence, which for some people conceptually is challenging, but for most of us it's emotionally challenging to face the idea that nothing lasts. Everything changes. Nothing is permanent on this earth, on this physical plane where we exist right now as human beings. Nothing lasts. Everything dies. And that sounds bleak and sounds discouraging to us when we first face that concept, and it's a reason why the vast majority of our society is totally in denial about this and totally avoiding and running away from this idea that nothing will last. And in fact, we spend billions of dollars in our healthcare system trying to prove to ourselves that we can make things last, that we can control our health, we can control the aging process, we can control life, we can prevent death, we can prevent ourselves from getting older or prevent ourselves from getting sick. And it's so ingrained in our mindset to believe that we put tremendous energy behind it, but in reality that's a futile effort, because in truth everything is progressing, everything evolves, everything is moving, and we cannot stop it and we can't really change that. But the reality is that nothing on this earth will last, and there's a reason why that's the case and why we're here on this planet. And when we start to understand this spiritual perspective, this galaxy view, which I've been trying to present to you, but this spiritual perspective on life, the ultimate realization that we must adopt, we must embrace, and we must understand this during our spiritual growth process in order to transcend this physical realm, is to realize that the soul does last. Spirit does persist after the body dies. And spiritual growth is about removing your attachments to everything that does not last, everything physical, everything on the physical plane, until the only thing that is left for you is that which can never be destroyed, and that is spirit. That is your soul. So throughout this life process, we're reminded over and over again through the little deaths that occur in our lives that nothing here on this earth is permanent. Nothing on this earth lasts. Only that which is not seen and not visible to us, not tangible to us, the spirit or the soul will last and will continue living after everything on this earth dies. And so the ultimate purpose of impermanence is to help us grasp that thought. As soon as we have an understanding of that, as soon as we begin to get that idea through our heads that, you know what, it's true, nothing around me will last, we can suddenly take a new perspective on everything within our lives. We can suddenly begin to devote ourselves to what is spiritual and what is soul within ourselves and care about that and know that it matters and be less and less attached to everything that is superficial, that is outside of ourselves and external to the soul, and that even includes our own physical bodies. And so grasping this idea of impermanence, this is such a big concept for us, but once we grasp it, it actually makes it much easier for us to accomplish surrender, which was the previous lesson, because it's much easier to let go of expectations when you know that actually none of this will last. So why do we have all these expectations? Why are we holding on to this insistence that things work out a certain way when we already know that it won't last? We already know that that's built into this physical existence. It's meant to be that way. So the sixth lesson of surrender is so much easier to accomplish and work on when we do have an understanding of the impermanence of everything. We can take it much more lightly. We can let go of things so much more easily and not allow our minds to get so attached to things that we already know won't last and won't stay with us. We can enjoy them and appreciate them fully while we have them, but we also know that they won't last. They won't remain when all is said and done. And so this idea of surrender, suddenly it's so much easier to accomplish when we keep in mind at all times that nothing lasts and everything changes. And then once we begin to let go of things in our lives, and the more we're able to let go of our attachments and our expectations, then the more we can celebrate the fact that our true purpose, which is the fifth lesson, our true purpose is to manifest our potential in every moment. Now we're not projecting ourselves so much into the future, hoping for something to happen down the road. We've already let go of that. We've already surrendered it. And so all the more we can focus on how do I be my best self right now in this moment, because that is my real purpose. That's really the purpose for me to be here, is for in each and every moment for me to be the best person I can be, to bring about the highest potential that I have for good in this world. Whatever I came here to the planet with, whatever I've learned or grasped along the way or picked up along, that's part of my purpose. That's part of my highest potential right now in this moment. And to utilize it and maximize it, and I'm so much more able to do that after I've surrendered. I've let go of all those expectations. I'm not out there in the future hoping for something else to happen, hoping for a goal to be accomplished, hoping that I'll make a certain amount of money or achieve a certain amount of success. It's already been surrendered. I'm right here in this moment. And what I'm striving for, the only thing I'm striving for, is to reach my highest potential right now for this moment, whatever that might be. And my highest potential in this moment, on this day, in this time, it's not the same as it was a week ago. It's not the same as it will be a year from now. It's not even the same as it will be in the next moment. It changes from moment to moment. But that is truly the real reason why we're here, is to manifest that highest potential, that highest purpose. And we understand that this purpose for our lives unfolds before us. It's unfolding one step at a time in each and every moment. And as soon as we see that this is how our purpose gets enacted, it's by being here in the present moment and dwelling in the present moment. And so the more we are able to appreciate that concept, the more we can fully bring our energy to the present moment, which is the fourth lesson, is just dwelling right here, right now, in this moment, having all of our energy here, all of our attention, all of our focus here, whatever is happening for me in this moment. And including what people are around me in this moment. What pets or animals are around me? What weather is here right now? Is the sun shining? Is the wind blowing? Is the snow falling down? And taking it all in and appreciating every aspect of this present moment, whatever is happening. And what's happening for me right now? Am I enjoying a cup of tea? Which I am, so I'll take a sip of that. Am I sharing with something with another person? Am I listening? Am I hearing their story? Am I feeling connected to them and taking in their energy and appreciating the beauty of it, the beauty of this life that's sharing this moment with me? Am I taking that all in and enjoying it in this moment? And so it becomes so much easier to focus on this present moment and appreciate it for what it is, because we've already learned that nothing lasts, everything changes. We've already figured out how to let go of our expectations for the future and surrender that. We've already understood that our highest potential is right here in this moment. And so all the more reason we have to be here and celebrate this moment, right now, this moment, which also will not last. This moment is one in a succession of millions and billions of moments that we will have while we're alive here on the earth, but we can enjoy whatever is right here, right now, in this moment. And then once we are extremely good at being in the present moment, we will have that much more desire to practice the third lesson, which is forgiveness. We will have that much more desire to let go of any resentments from the past, because we're so good at being in the present moment and so intent at keeping our energy in the present moment that we will not want to hang up any of that energy on resentment that's going to get stored in a past memory. So as we go through each moment in this life, we'll be able to begin practicing forgiveness in the moment as we go, letting go, immediately letting go of resentments, refusing to hold on to resentments, letting them slip through our hands, pass through our awareness and our consciousness, because we're not willing to tie up our energy in the past. And so think about it. When we're accustomed to dwelling in the present moment and we're comfortable in the present moment, forgiveness is a much easier task, because suddenly it's just not worth our time and energy to hang ourselves up on something that happened last moment, last week, last year, 20 years ago. It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. And suddenly forgiveness makes a lot more sense to us. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. Why would we hold on to something that happened at one time in the past? It was a reality back then, but everything about that situation from the past has now moved on and changed and grown. Nothing is the same as it was when that event occurred. Why would we hold on to old emotion and allow our emotion to stay stuck in a place that no longer even exists, that's no longer even real? It's simply a figment that's being replayed in our memory banks. It's a neurological circuit in the brain that's being replayed to us and that we've allowed our energy to get attached to. So do you see why forgiveness, it's so much easier when you accept that nothing lasts, everything changes. And nothing should last, including your resentment. Your resentment should not last. It should change. It should grow. It should move on and move on with you as you flow through your life from moment to moment. So this very idea of letting go of the past and practicing forgiveness, it's suddenly so much easier because we've already learned all these other lessons. We've already learned that we need to surrender. We've already learned that we need to just stay in the present moment, and that our highest potential in this present moment does not include hating someone or sending darts and arrows of anger and resentment out toward another person. That's not part of our highest potential. And so as we're on this path, embracing all 7 of these lessons, forgiveness is much easier, and somehow it even makes more sense when we view it from this perspective of impermanence, when we've gone all the way to the very end of life and turned around and looked back at all of our history. Holding on to resentment doesn't make sense anymore. And we are now finally able to let go, able to just release that resentment, release the pain from those old wounds. Let them go. Let them heal. Let them just float away from you and be gone. There's no reason. There's no reason whatsoever to hold on to it. It makes no sense anymore. And as soon as we're at that place of letting go of all of that resentment and really mastering the art of forgiveness, including forgiving in the moment as something happens to you, as someone makes a crass remark that you could interpret as insulting, and you decide, that's okay, I forgive you, I'm not holding on to that. When a driver cuts you off in traffic and you say, I don't know what's going on for you and why that happened, but it's okay, I'm not holding on to that. I let go of that, whatever. You're released. I'm not going to hold on to it and be upset with you. I'm letting that go. I'm letting that fly. And when you yourself make a mistake or you fall down, you fail at something, and you decide, it's okay, that's just my next step. That's just what happened in the next step, in the next moment. And now my step after that is to get back up again. My step now is to gather up all that energy. I'm not dwelling on it. I'm not going to stay there. I'm going to get back up again. And I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to go forward with a new attitude now and make things different. So once we have really mastered this art, and the more deeply we can practice forgiveness in our lives, the more we're going to authentically be able to practice love, which is the second lesson. We can love so much more deeply when we're not tying up our energy and our resources in holding on to resentment, because suddenly we become just pure vessels and pure channels for that divine love that I described to you, that is flowing through you and out through you, out through your uniqueness. Now, as you practice forgiveness, you're opening up every one of the channels through which that love can flow. And again, the love, the divine love that comes through you is going to be shaped by who you are. But the shape it's going to take when you've freed yourself of old resentments because you've practiced forgiveness, the shape it's going to take is going to just be a pure representation of you, of who you are, of your highest potential, of who you came here to be. of what you came here to express and to bring to the world. It's not going to be perfect, not by any means. We're going to still carry all of our flaws and all of our weaknesses. So ourselves and our being, who we are here on this planet, will remain flawed. We will remain full of all of those weaknesses and those areas where we can't quite perform up to speed. And we'll never be good at everything. We'll have certain things that we can never master, certain things that we're slightly good at. But each one of those aspects of our character will shape that love, that divine love that flows through us. And what we've been doing by practicing surrender, by practicing forgiveness, by practicing being in the present moment, we've been removing all of the obstacles to the flow of that divine love through us. So we've been healing those obstacles. We've been untying the knots that are inside of us from past wounds. We've been opening up the channels so that divine love can flow through us and out through our unique channels to the world in all of its glory, and can be there for the world, for creativity, for healing, for beauty, for joy within the world. And so think about it, now that we understand that nothing lasts, therefore we're not holding on to anything, we're not going to stay attached to anything, we can surrender, we can be in the present moment, we can let go of our old resentments, we can free ourselves and free up our energy. Now we are truly living our purpose, which is to bring that divine love through ourselves to the earth. And that love can flow through us in every moment and flow out to people around us who need our love, to the planet which desperately needs our love, to every form of life in the universe. We can send rays of our love out, radiating out from us to the entire universe, to our planet, and begin to work toward the healing that is so desperately needed here. And how beautiful is that? How beautiful is that capacity to be able to extend that divine love out in these concentric circles that are just radiating out from you, outward, further and further outward to all of life, being a blessing to all of life around you. And how beautiful is it that you can now practice such deep, intense love. And from that perspective of love, when you are engaging every moment of your life through love, when love is just pouring through you freely in every moment because you've now removed the obstacles to it, suddenly you return to the place where we began at the very beginning of this course. You return back to look once more at this idea of suffering. And what is suffering? What is it? And you realize in so many ways that what you perceived as suffering when you first began this course, what you thought your suffering was, the ways in which you believed suffering had taken over your life or had harmed your life or had been damaging within your life, suddenly you have an entirely new perspective. That new mindset that I was telling you we wanted to create about suffering, that new mindset has happened now, because what we've done, we've gone through suffering almost as if we've passed through a curtain or through a veil, and we come out on the other side to see that what we used to believe was suffering in many ways doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't really exist in the way we thought it did. What we saw as suffering was really a concept in our minds. And it was a concept that came from the inflexibility of our minds. And the ignorance of our minds in some way, the lack of exposure of our minds to bigger ideas and to this bigger perspective, the galaxy perspective that lets us see the biggest view possible of everything that's happening here. And suddenly, our entire definition of what suffering is has shifted. And now we can certainly look around us and we can perceive on our planet, we perceive there are millions of children and adults too starving to death in Africa. You know, there are people suffering from diseases that are treatable, that we have treatments for, that cannot receive those treatments in third world countries. There are people dying of lack of clean water, and we certainly know how to make water safe and clean for people to use. And so, you know, there are forests that are being cut down on the earth, vast areas that have been completely deforested, trees that we've lost that will take hundreds of years to replace. The ocean is being polluted. Our ocean life is dying in the ocean before our eyes every day because of pollution and because of the changes. Our glaciers are melting and we're losing them every single day. Animals are losing their habitats and dying because they can't find adequate food or they can't find a place to live, an environment which can sustain them. And so suffering, yes, suffering exists on this planet. We cannot escape it within our own lives. We cannot escape, our planet cannot escape it. No one that we love and care for and wish we could protect in this world can be protected from the suffering of this planet, of a planet where nothing lasts and everything changes. We cannot stop that progress. We cannot stop that evolution of life that involves a certain amount of suffering as a necessity. But what we have understood that we can change is our beliefs about suffering, our mindset about suffering. And so we're not saying that suffering ceases to exist when you change your mindset, only that your relationship to suffering changes. And the power of suffering may diminish when you have this new mindset and understand that if you continue to practice love, if you continue to remove the obstacles to love in your life by practicing forgiveness, by being in the present moment, by seeking to manifest your highest potential in everything that you do, by letting go of your expectations, and by freely acknowledging and embracing the fact that nothing lasts, if you can approach suffering with all of those concepts at once activated within you, then suffering cannot bring you down. Suffering cannot take away your joy. Suffering, the suffering of the earth or the suffering that does occur within your own life is suddenly just part of the fabric that's woven into your life as a whole. It doesn't destroy your life and it doesn't define your life. You become defined by something much higher, which is this ability that you have to channel beautiful divine love to the planet, which is so much more powerful than any of the suffering that exists here. And so by going through this whole process of working on these 7 lessons, we have helped you now create this new mindset for yourself, this new awareness, this higher perspective of what suffering really is. And from now on, if you have taken those lessons in, if you've made them a part of yourself, if they've become embodied in you and they're part of your life now, they're part of how you think and how you see things, and even if they don't feel very solidly part of that, if you keep working on it, I guarantee you they will, because that's what I've been doing for For 12, 14 years now, I've been working through these lessons over and over again, making them constantly part of my life, part of my awareness, part of how I see the world and how I relate to the world. And I guarantee you will find incredible comfort and peace by embracing this new mindset towards suffering. You will find that you have an ability to cope with change in your own life that you've never had before. You will have a resilience in your life. You'll have an ability to tolerate and survive what comes to you. Whatever is coming toward you on your life path, you don't have to run away from. You can face it and you can go through it, and you will know that because you have this powerful mindset that lets you know it's going to be okay. This is all part of the perfect fabric of your life. It's what's coming to you as part of what life has offered.